Hello, welcome back to Gallowgateshots. This is Extra Time. My name's Emil.
My name's Jess.
Yes!
I think I was supposed to say that then. That was unrehearsed.
Yeah, it worked. It's, we've been watching SMTV over Christmas, so we're getting the double act there. Up and running. Welcome. We're in that weird bit between Christmas. Your dad said that too many times already about no man's land. And Newcastle United are also seemingly in no man's land. It's been a pretty rough ride over the festive period, hasn't it, Jess?
It's been, just awful, terrible, horrible.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Doing videos over Christmas has always been fairly grim, to be honest, with that kind of thing. So I've kind of come to expect this around Christmas time, and we've got our two guests. We've roped them in because they like the torture, as always. Matty's back again. Matty really is in a tortured state after how many nights on it?
I don't know. What day is it? I don't know. What year is it? I don't care. Apparently, someone told me it was Sunday today. I'm yet to confirm it. So, yeah. So, is it Monday?
It's Monday.
It is. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
Bank holiday Monday.
We're recording it on Monday.
Breaking news. It's Monday. Yeah. Very hungover. It's not been nice to me. The football hasn't helped, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will indeed. And we've also been joined by Andy Burnham, last seen on here, talking about Peter Lovenkrantz's end. well, one end and another end in very different circumstances. But hello, Andy. Welcome back.
Hello, Emil. It's good to be back. I'm going to try and not mention Peter Lovenkrantz again.
No.
I set myself quite a high bar there, but so.
We do need to talk about the calendar on your wall, Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Oh
Yes.
my god!
Are you the person that keeps it on TV over Christmas?
No, don't worry about that. It's ironically there.
Right, I see.
Oh, that's all right.
I thought that it had been renewed for another 10 years, and I wanted to sort of ritualistically burn it. But maybe that is why it's still going, because people buy me the calendar for a joke every year. That's probably
what
it
it is. Did you get a new one for this year? Next year coming?
No, I got a Star Wars one, thankfully.
Got a Star Wars one, right? Well, we're heading in the right direction. Is that the bit that's on top there? Is that the Star Wars that I can see Star Wars just coming in? Is it like a rotating thing each year, or is that just?
And I'm kind of repping all the Star Wars today.
Good. There we go. Like it. I like it. Well, we did say that we wanted to have a deep dive into Disney Plus and everything we've been watching over Christmas, but sadly there has been some football to talk about. It kind of went from bad to worse, and it's weird, Jess, because we kind of skipped the middle bit where we did a quiz and forgot everything that happened before that. Newcastle drew with Fulham, felt like a loss, even though we were against 10 men, and salvaged a point against them. Brentford knocked us out of the cup, and then Man City walked all over us, but it was an improvement, of course, on those two games, according to our manager, but we still lost 2-0. Oh, God, I don't even want to talk about it, but this seems like the rot is setting in, Jess, don't you think?
Yeah, it's. I mean, we've said it for a long time now. I think it was probably Man United when me and you started. We both said, like, this is it now. If he doesn't go, nothing's going to change, and sure enough, look at the position that we're in now. And since then we've obviously, as we say every week, we've shithoused the odd result, but what we've seen over the last 10 days or whatever it was, the last 3 games, is just absolutely appalling, just atrocious. There's no direction, there's just absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Who's got a wash on, by the way?
Probably me.
That's not me.
Someone's got a washing machine going in the background, it sounds like. In with the dirty laundry of Christmas, and we'll see if Newcastle will come out looking a bit cleaner in the next game. But you're right, it doesn't look good. We've gone and sat down in front of the TV, or some people have actively avoided it over the festive period just to feel better about themselves. But most people, I think, felt okay heading into Boxing Day thinking, you know what, right, let's see what happens with this one. And then we saw the team, and it all went to crap. Matty, have you had any optimism in those 3 games that we've had with Fulham, Brentford, or Man City?
No, not really. I mean, Fulham sort of started it all, and then I hit rock bottom pretty much at the end of Fulham. Or did I? There was a little bit, and then obviously Brentford just put the nail in the coffin for me. And then from there, you're looking at the fixtures and you think the City, Liverpool, Leicester. Where do we go from here? And it's exactly where you're going. You're just staying put. You're not going to be able to lay a glove on these teams. So no. The short answer, no optimism whatsoever. But I did learn what histrionic meant. So,
Yes, I think that's been the most used word.
I didn't even know that was
over
a word.
Twitter.
I didn't even
Yeah,
know
I
it
think
was
it's
a word.
getting added to the dictionary as we speak, or added to the Newcastle United dictionary of weird excuses and blaming. And it continues. It just keeps going and going and going. Andy, did you skip one of the games just out of sheer apathy?
Yeah, I'm going to keep the positive vibes going. It's absolutely grim, isn't it? It's even, I mean, going into the Palace game, we said, we beat Palace, beat West Brom, they're two really good results, but just watching it every week is just so awful. And I presume we'll touch on it later, but just the fact we can't even be there to hurl abuse at Bruce, it just makes it even worse. It just feels like you're watching it with sort of no hope, really. We've got the results, we're still hanging around in the table, but every week I'm just sort of saying, are we playing today? I don't know. Or maybe it's tomorrow. Just the apathy is just unreal at the minute, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. No, that's a big one. And you had a season ticket, didn't you, Andy? So it's like,
It's still there ticking over.
yeah,
Same as mine, aye.
another thing that seems to still be going on. We don't know if anything's changing. Does anyone see anything changing? Bit of a free for all on this one. I don't know if someone wants to jump in, but I know that the next couple of games, obviously, we are already writing them off, especially Liverpool. But does anyone see anything changing? You know, any optimism coming back? I've seen a few mentions of the FA Cup game, the Sheffield United game, which just seemed like banana skins. But
For me, I think it's changing for the worse because I saw a quote on Twitter the other day, and for me, I used to always stay clear of like the really bashing Bruce in terms of I'd bash him because of his tactics or his lack thereof or the way he has no direction. But when he used to come across in press conferences, you'd think you're obviously an all right guy, like but I just don't want you as my manager.
yeah,
But it's getting to the point now where things are changing, where he's reversing it onto us now and using words like histrionics, saying the melodrama of your reaction at the Brentford game was too much, and I think it's what we have to deal with as Newcastle manager, and that's starting to change for me, and I'm really starting to resent him now because of them stupid quotes. If he just was honest and just said, "Look, like I'm not doing a great job," I know he's not going to do that, but the way he's starting to suddenly blame the fans and the media, even though they're not in the grounds, a bit strange for me.
Yeah, it's like the nice guy mask's kind of slipped, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he can't handle criticism, and rather than just as you say, rather than just hold his hands up and say, "Look, I got it wrong," it's their fault, or it's their fault, or it's their fault, and it's never his fault, and that's unacceptable.
I have a friend who's a Mackham. I mean, friends loose, who has friends who are Mackhams. But he said that when we got him, he said he'll pull a few results out of his ass. But once things start to go bad, trust me, it won't be his fault. And I was like, we'll see what happens. And then you see now these quotes from Villa interviews, from Hull interviews, Sunderland interviews, where he says like, I think he's being over dramatic, and it's not my fault. It's this, it's X, Y, and Z. And he was right, because that's what it's starting to become. It's starting to become a blame game rather than him sort of taking the blame.
it was a good Christmas game, though, actually, because if you took the quotes off Twitter, printed them out, you could do a nice little spot the difference with the family. And strangely, there was no difference between the quotes. It's almost like history's repeating itself. And yeah, that was it. It was very much what happened at Brentford, like you say. Sorry, not Brentford, against Brentford with Villa. You saw it with Sunderland. You saw it with Hull. Fans from other clubs are actually saying this is what it was like, and we got laughed at as well. We got laughed at for bringing a cabbage, but that was the extreme way that we had to do this, and it is going to get worse. And yes, very, very lucky that Steve Bruce hasn't got any fans in the ground. We've said this time and time again. I think it's the most used thing on Twitter, and it continues. I think the one that really got me was about like the fans need to understand that this is where we need to end up. And there was a bit of an argument which kind of went on last night about how it's not necessarily Bruce. Once again, we might be seeing the early stages of him having a pop at the hierarchy above, because it's like the 17th thing isn't actually what Bruce wants, but it's what he's been told he's going to achieve. And that's kind of like I know it's probably one of those where it's like, well, he said that and I've heard this and you want to believe that. But it did feel like, okay, well, what does he want? Does he want to take us forward? Is he going to fight? But does he also have to keep his mouth shut in order to get what he wants? But then I've just come on today before we started recording and seen that there's apparently, again, no money in January. We're going to be without Saint-Maximin for most of January. Same with Ryan Fraser. Is he punching up and saying, look, I need more? Andy, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I think the thing with Bruce, it's almost word for word. He's used the word hysterical in all of these examples that you've said about Villa and Sunderland as well. And it's almost he's trying to pull a fake news thing on Newcastle fans. And I think for one thing, I almost respect him for now just coming out and saying, look, we are just fighting for relegation. I'm sorry, lads. I know it's really shit, but that's what we're doing. And you almost can't really knock him for saying that. At the end of the day, because he knows where he is. I think the frustrating thing is when he's come in, he's give us all sunshine and rainbows and said, look, we're going to be pushing, we're going to be progressing the team, we're going to be going top 10, look at all these great signings. And coming on what you've said there, Emil, maybe it is that he was given false promises by the board when he got all these signs, and now all of a sudden he's stood there going, well, this is crap again. I've got another job where I've got a rubbish team and I'm a rubbish manager, and I'm just going to have to sort of bide my time until I get sacked. So it's hard to see any optimism. I know when you mentioned about positives, the only positive I could see coming up is that there is a January transfer window, but it's just going to be the same again.
Yeah, 3 dodgy loan signings that we probably don't know much about, and we'll get a weird pun made out of one of their names halfway through the second half of the season, which will still be repeated to this day. And that's kind of it. I mean, it does sound like Steve Bruce is coming down to the fans' level to a certain extent, so fair play. You know, he's coming down to us and say, well, you're all miserable, I'm going to be miserable as well. I hate it. I hate my job as well. maybe that's what it is. He's just becoming a fan. It's finally getting to him. But of course, there is only one man to blame in this whole thing, and that is the man who is currently still trying to get a takeover, or at least some money. So yeah, I think that unfortunately, as Matty says, the resentment is kicking in. But let's also keep resenting the one person who put this guy in charge when no one actually wanted him. You know, again, I made a ridiculous point to someone the other day who didn't know much about it. Said we paid for Steve Bruce, and he was like 17th choice for our management job. So questions must be asked. Yeah.
Just think you bring in like a second-rate manager, you're going to get second-rate performances. Do you know what I mean? We were never going to win the league with him. Do you know what I mean? I think, and our expectations were never that either. But the fact that he's just so defeated and he doesn't seem that he's got anything about him. Like we're also pessimistic, but so is he. And what effect is that going to have on the players? And then it's just a vicious, and that's without us even being there. It's just a vicious cycle. And until something breaks the cycle, which has got to be him leaving, it's never going to change.
Yeah, he's got a massive inferiority complex, hasn't he? That's his issue. Same as Sam Allardyce, where he always says, look, if I was called Sam Allardyce, I'd be managing Barcelona. It's almost like the world's against him all the time.
Yeah.
It's almost like he just needs to catch a break, but he's never going to do that because he's awful.
Enter Steve Bruce. Is that what you're saying? He's coming in?
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, no, I even for me, people are actually pointing out that they're noticing that my optimism is slipping, which is bad, because I'm normally very optimistic and like you said, Matty, I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but now I'm running out of things. And that thing about how Man City was apparently an improvement, I actually pointed out saying, look, well, if he's thinking that's an improvement, so we drew against Fulham, and then we didn't score against Brentford, and then Man City scored 2 against us. Is that the improvement? Is he just seeing it as like one big abacus? So like how far can we get away so that Liverpool's going to be like a 3-0 and then it just keeps getting worse as the season goes on? So by the last game, it's going to be like 23-0 to the opposition, which isn't that ridiculous if you think about it. It's not good. It's certainly not good. And it's not good when you've got games that you already think aren't winnable. So let's see what happens. And looking ahead to Liverpool, it's looking like Klopp's saying they're going to be angry. And I said,
after their result, because I've honestly just lost interest in all of it, so I don't even know. But
well, this is after they drew with West Brom.
Yes, they drew 1-1, didn't they?
Jurgen Klopp getting very angry at the fact that a team from the Championship had the audacity to score an equaliser against his team. I mean, you don't do that against the champions of England. But you know, that's Klopp for you. He's getting like that now, and it annoys people. So bring it on, I say. Because I'd be angry if I had to come to St James's Park and watch a team that is literally going to roll over and die for you.
Yeah.
So that's it, isn't it? And I don't know if anyone saw them against Palace, but I mean, Matty, did you see the way that Palace are playing? A lot of people are saying that there's similarities between Roy Hodgson's late-stage Palace and current Steens at Newcastle United.
The worrying thing is that Palace game in particular, with Palace was 7-0. they weren't playing a particular bad brand of football. They actually played all right. Alisson made a couple of decent saves in the first half to keep, the score, keep his clean sheet. Sorry, but they ended up getting smashed 7-0. So that's trying to play an expansive and less defensive type of football. So, I mean, Hodgson, we always talk about Zaha. We won't get into make this a Palace podcast, but when you compare the two teams, I'd say we're playing the poorer football right now. West Brom went there yesterday, set up in a really defensive shape, but really restricted their shots on target, which is the thing we don't do. So we set up defensively, but say you can have a few shots on target, maybe 10 or 15, and just hope Karl Darlow saves them. And I really am worried about that game because, like you say, he's on about an angry Liverpool. Fuck me, a mild-mannered Liverpool could come here and score 5. So I don't know what this angry business is going to happen. Hopefully, we'll get a few sent off. I don't know. But all I know is I'm not looking forward to the game whatsoever.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I think the similarities with Palace weren't so much in the 7-0, but obviously people have been saying that they're seeing it with Palace now in their Villa game. I think they lost 3-0 and just rolled over once again against them, and that was against 10 men as well. Palace were playing against, so the similarities are there that we can't beat teams, and neither can they. But it's going to be a weird one, the Liverpool game. I don't know how it's going to go. Andy, have you got any wisdom for how Newcastle United can potentially stop this Liverpool team that aren't necessarily at full throttle 100% of the time?
I think the only way we're stopping them is spreading COVID in all of the players, to be honest. So much better than all.
Fantastic.
I mean, you're right. You're right in terms of them being angry. My girlfriend's a Liverpool fan, and their expectations are so high, rightly, because they just nailed everyone for the past 2 seasons. And dropping 2 points is like the biggest end of the world for them. So yeah, they'll be fired up. Their individual players are also annoyed. Mane, because he got subbed off Salah because he didn't get fantasy points, because he actively tries to get as many fantasy points as possible every season. So yeah, they're going to come and roll us over.
Well, my fantasy team is absolutely loving that news because my captain is blanked for the last 4 times, and I've kept faith in Salah. So please, Mohammed, look down on me and give me my points. That would be great. I'm sick of my captains. It's so annoying. Well, if he doesn't score against Newcastle, then we have to be happy, of course. But deep down, I'll be seething mad. Jess, you have been quite good with predictions with this one, so let's have a really honest prediction for Newcastle Liverpool.
Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, because especially the last couple of weeks, we've got no idea what side he's going to put out. That side that when I read the team on Saturday, I was like, wait, where's Matty Longstaff come from? It was just so we've got
I think his parents just picked him up and dropped him.
But we've just got no idea who's going to play, so it's impossible to. All I can say is I think we'll get our arses handed to her. I think we'll get absolutely slaughtered.
What number are you going for?
Single figures.
I'll say 4 or 5, and I think that's me being optimistic.
Yeah.
Which is that? How bad's that?
Well, I mean, if I'm going off the last game of last season, back in July when we played Liverpool, and we scored early on, and everyone thought, hang on, and then lo and behold, we did in Newcastle and lost 3-1. I'm expecting similar to that. And
they didn't have the best 3 players playing that game. They have Minamino, Origi, and whoever, Shaqiri.
So I remember at one point in that the Newcastle account actually pointed out that Salah, Mane, and Firmino came on in a 3, and it was just like that. Funny that Jurgen, that you're just ripping the piss now. But yeah, they didn't score too many. I don't know with this one. I think I'm going to have to go for a 3-0 Liverpool win, because I think that there is still elements of Karl Darlow and our defence which won't roll over. But it's about the going forward at the minute, which we just can't seem to crack or keep the ball for that matter. So throwing themselves in it 3-0 for me, Liverpool. And Matty, I presume you're similar.
Yeah, an optimistic 4. I think it'll be one of those games where you're living from goal to goal, just thinking, just keep them out. Every time the sky just shrugging your shoulders. The Man City game, not to talk about that too much, but we expected similar from that, but they literally sleepwalked to a result they didn't have to do. anything.
They
And
didn't get out of first gear, did they?
yeah,
They
it
were
didn't even
just
start the bloody car. Like it
And
was just a turned up, and we just went there's 2-0, and all right, sound.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No. They didn't start the car. We drove to them.
Okay.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, we
easy lift.
Ubered to City and give them 3 points.
Yeah. Exactly. We took them over.
Yeah.
In honor of 2020 and all the deliveries that we've been getting, we just gave them those points. But yeah, you're right. This is the perfect time to play Newcastle. If teams like Man City and Liverpool are complaining about the amount of games and the amount of rests that they need to give players, give them Newcastle. Just give them Newcastle.
Yeah, have a rest against us, and you'll still
This is
win.
Richard Masters' final laugh for all of the shit that we brought down on them over the summer. He's gone, right, give them City and Liverpool in that order over Christmas. And Andy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you a lot. 3 or 4-0. I think the only saving grace is that they've still got loads of the defence out. I think Matip went off injured again, so I'll give us a goal because we do like a shithouse goal against Liverpool. Wilhelm scored one, didn't he? That absolute belter. And I think did Gale score in the first minute?
Gale scored that one, and it kind of knocked off his head.
We'll say a shit Joe Linton goal in the first 5 minutes, and then we'll get absolutely steamrolled after that.
Well, I've said all that, right? I've just sold Wilson on my fantasy team, so we'll probably score a hat-trick and we'll win. So
don't worry, I've negated that one just by taking them out for Man City, and he didn't even start, so luck is in my favour in that one. But yeah, no, a shit Joe Linton goal sometimes are the recipe for a fairy tale, so let's not rule it out just yet, because we could yet see out 2020 in style. I would love it to happen. It would just be, it wouldn't fix everything, but it would just make me feel better as a whole, and it wouldn't take away the naysayers and everything like that, because we're right to be angry with the style that we're playing. But if we beat Liverpool, maybe we can go on to losing the FA Cup and continue this horrible form.
Or we could do it like when they sacked Bilic the other week, the day after he drew 1-1 with City. We could hope for something like that.
Hey, wouldn't that be great? I mean, to be fair, I think Bruce would kind of like that. At least I beat Liverpool in my last game, and
going
then
out on a high.
Yeah, get me pay a packet, and off he goes back to some championship outfit. So there we are. I was thinking about that today. I was like, I've got nothing against him personally, just in a managerial style. Unfortunately, I've never met him in any other circumstances. So there we are. It's fun to be a Newcastle fan. My mate was a Man United fan. My mate was a Man United fan the other day. Started hitting me with the 12th and not in the relegation zone argument, and I said, "Oh, piss off," and that was that. I said, just don't you even go down that route. Listen to talk.
I'm honestly sick of hearing it. They obviously haven't watched many games because it's the same shit week in, week out.
Yeah.
We're not even halfway through the season as well, so you can't even really look at the table.
Yeah.
Everyone's like 3 points away from each other.
And what a beautiful segue we have there, Andy. Thank you very much for that one. We're not at the end of the season, but we are at the end of the year. We could be ending it in style, like I say, with Liverpool absolutely thumping us. Maybe 1-0. That'll be an improvement, won't it, Steve? But we have had some moments. We did smile once in 2020. Sometimes we smiled twice. And we wanted to kind of look back at 2020, looking at the end of last season, stuff that happened all the way from January when we played in that lovely thick black striped kit. And then as we stumbled our way through coronavirus and into this season, which has had its absolute lows, not many highs, we wanted to try and look through the best stuff. And I think we've narrowed it down to about 10, which I've put in. And we'll go in something of an order. And starting with number 10, Newcastle moments from this year. Do you remember back in April, guys? Do you remember? Saudi Arabia wanted to buy Newcastle United? We were going to be the richest club in the world, and they didn't let us have it. I mean, honestly, it's mad to think that did happen. That happened throughout lockdown.
I can't believe that was this year.
It was this year.
Ridiculous.
Just feels like ages ago.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a fever dream.
Yeah.
And things were happening. It was sunny outside. I was starting to drink at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes earlier. And all of a sudden, I had Keith Downey telling me about an article that he'd written about Mike Ashley's tenure in charge of Newcastle and how it was over. I mean, horrible, but wonderful. And it all went to shit in true Newcastle style. Jess, what are your feelings towards that period?
It was nice while it lasted. Well, it was nice at the start, and then, as with everything, everyone just went on absolutely ridiculous. I'll not name people or say certain things, but like people turning up at the Premier League and writing letters and starting petitions to the government and contacting fucking Boris Johnson. I mean, what the? It got out of hand and it got stupid, and as with many things, made us look ridiculous.
Yeah, we sometimes don't do ourselves any favours, do we?
No.
And it's, I think, very much contributory factors have been the fact that we've all been locked inside with nothing else better to do than shout about something. It was also very much the thing, yet we are still so far away from the thing, and that is Newcastle United summed up for me. Let's move on, because actually no, let's not move on, because we never move on from a takeover. Let's end the video there. There's nothing else to talk about. No, there is more stuff. Karl Darlow, I put in at number 9. I don't think it's been a full season of Karl Darlow that we've seen, or a full year of it. But he's certainly come good, and I think Karl Darlow has been one of the surprise packages of this season that everyone was maybe writing off when we saw Dubravka couldn't come back, and has arguably kept his place very well.
Yeah, fantastic. You know, it could have been much worse if it wasn't for Karl Darlow. He's kept us in games. The games where we've managed to get things from them, points or 3 points, he's played a huge part in it. And he did again the other night. I mean, like we've just been talking about, Man City, you know, didn't get out of first gear yet. He had afforded a few shots on target. He made a fantastic save there. It's just, like I said in other videos, copy and paste. You're always going to give Karl Darlow. He's made maybe 1 or 2 mistakes, but who hasn't? He has been really good, and it does beg the question, you know, when Dubravka comes back, do you bring him straight back in? Because I just think that'd be a real disservice to Karl Darlow. So fair play to Karl Darlow.
What do you think will happen?
I think they'll keep Karl Darlow. I do. I think they might ease. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Dubravka plays in the Arsenal game in the FA Cup. He's back in training now, diving about and stuff. So we'll see. Might see him back in, but no. For now, you've got to keep Karl Darlow in there because he's done nothing wrong. So and yeah, he's a small silver lining of this year.
Always believe in Karl Darlow. It's been nice to see him there. Andy, you've been impressed by Darlow?
Yeah, I think as a club we've always had a great second keeper, and Darlow has just carried that on. You always see these sort of lists of who's the best keeper in the Premier League at the minute, and Darlow by other fans is always put right down there for some reason, even though he's saved us 10-20 goals this season just on his own with unbelievable saves. And he obviously came at the same time as Lascelles. Sorry.
Was there not something today like that? Like the best keepers of... I don't know if it was best keepers of the year.
I saw another one today, and Darlow wasn't on the top 10 at all.
He wasn't in the top 10. I couldn't get over that. But that's goes to show what I said before. People don't watch us.
We've conceded more shots than any other team, and we're not bottom. And it says a lot about how good of a keeper Darlow is. And Dubravka, as amazing as he is, he does make mistakes. And I feel like Darlow doesn't make as many mistakes, even though he can't pull out the unbelievable world-class save. He's just dependable, isn't he? And that's all you can ask for at the minute.
Every keeper's got a mistake in them, and it happens when you are so like it's a bit like the Liverpool argument. You know, if you are so used to a keeper being tremendous all the time, when a mistake happens, and if they happen in quick succession like they sometimes do with Dubravka, it's very quick that the tide turns. And Darlow is probably only one mistake away from being cast out as the worst keeper we've ever seen, which is ridiculous if it does happen. He's been all right and he's doing okay. Obviously there was a few bits last season and this year with the cup games in the FA Cup where Darlow was maybe a little bit down on his luck, and we saw it again as well with Newport in Mark Gillespie. Another one where a mistake kind of left a lot of people going, hang on a minute, 2 seconds ago I was saying he should be our first choice. So it's weird how it works. But yeah, we are very blessed with keepers, and I hope Darlow's form continues. On to number 8. Jess, this is a subject that we've spoken about a bit on Extra Tyne, and it was one of the suggestions that Josh Banyard, who works for the foundation, pointed out. Newcastle United as a whole, for mental health, I think it's been a very positive year, certainly in the last few weeks, more poignantly. But yeah, it's been nice to see fans coming together very much in a year where many struggle more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like obviously there was the horrible news the other week that one of our supporters had passed away. But see like players, ex-players, just everyone come together to try and help one person, but then off the back of such a tragedy, offering to help each other and be there, especially in times like this. I mean, it's Christmas, it's like the hardest time of the year for some people anyway, but especially at the minute. And then I've seen it's a lad from the foundation, actually. They've started organising like a kickabout on a Sunday. Just down the quayside, like down near Spillers
It's
Walk.
down where Evolution used to be.
Yeah, down just down there. Literally just a group of lads. If you want to have a chat, if you're feeling a bit down or you haven't got anyone to talk to or anything like that, they just say just come down and we'll have a kickabout and have a chat. And just seeing things like that has just been lovely.
Strong base for 2021, I would say, and another thing that we'd like to see continue. And well in everyone, well done. It's very commendable, I think, as a fan base. There's another one that we will talk about shortly, but number 7, I thought I'd go for one that was quite strange. Again, Jess, I mentioned about the fever dreams of the summer and days that just kind of ran away with us. And guys, I don't think you remember this, but we beat Sheffield United 3-0. I forgot that we'd actually kept a clean sheet in this one, but this was the first game back when football came back. Sunniest day. We should have been in the stadium. We should have been absolutely getting battered. I mean, we shouldn't have been playing in the middle of summer for starters, so that's kind of defeats the object. But we came back and we just dominated this side with 10 men, some might want to say. But we beat a team convincingly at home, and this was last season, so we didn't even have the strike force that we had. Joe Linton scored. Matt Ritchie went wild. A player of theirs got sent off who happened to be a Sunderland kind of related player. Matty, do you think that game happened, or are you still not convinced?
No, it was a simpler time. Well, I say simpler time. It was a more optimistic time. It was actually the day after my birthday. Oh, it wasn't my birthday. It was the day. It was that good. Yeah, it was on my birthday. Like you say, the sun was shining. We were starting to see people again, and it was like, I always remember watching it in I think it was my mum and dad's back garden and thinking, oh, like Sheffield United probably going to batter us here, and all of a sudden we're scoring 3 goals against 10 men, but it was a sign of things to come for Sheffield United. I think that's when their capitulation started, ended up falling over into the season after. But yeah, I remember just thinking, well, it was probably the result that made me think, okay, we're safe now. Because I had these horrible feelings that we're going to come back after COVID and we were going to end up getting relegated. But we managed to stay in the league. Sort of gets linked to the number 10, like you've just said there. Because I thought, well, if this can happen, then maybe the takeover is definitely going to happen because we're definitely going to be in the league. But it was a nice time. St. Maximum, Joe Linton and Matt Ritchie that was a little bit of a thunder bastard, I remember.
Yeah, it was. I forgot St. Maximum scored the 3rd one there, so I'm glad you reminded me. But again, we just looked unstoppable, and we kind of took that into those first few games. And may I say that certainly in 2020, I think that that period of coming back was probably our most important, points that we picked up, because if it had gone the other way, we would have really been in a battle. But by beating Sheffield United, getting the win against Bournemouth shortly after, and draws against West Ham and Aston Villa, we did the hard work. And then, we did kind of fall to pieces after the Man City Cup game, but the hard work was done, and it meant that we didn't go into the end of the season facing a relegation battle. And I guess that those are the games that we yearn for again, where we show a little bit of grit.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But yeah, lack of grit with the game that this next thing's connected to. But Andy, how good was it that when the TV companies and the Premier League said we're going to start charging people for games, how good was it that Newcastle effectively led the charge on Twitter to start donating things to charity?
Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the collective middle finger from Sky Sports and all the companies to fans at that point was just awful, wasn't it? It was ridiculous at a time where everyone was absolutely at the lowest. We had all that, and then it was good to see, despite the fact that obviously at the very top of Newcastle we are just a shit club, there are lots of very good people and organisations in it, and we've obviously seen that with the food bank, and we obviously already touched on the mental health side of it. And it really reminds you that in amongst all of this, football is secondary, but it does. And we've seen that, I think we've all realised this even more now this year, the sense of community football gives you. And I think we've seen that Even when the football is at the absolute worst it could be, we are still good, and there are good people at the club, and it's been great to see.
Yeah, and it was almost like a sign of things to come and be like, right, guys, we've seen how bad we are to play. I'm not paying to watch that shit. I'm not paying to watch that shit. So it was very much like, right, you're charging us for however many games, and it would have been far more than if fans hadn't stepped in, and it has gone now, which is amazing. I think the whole UK fan base, I don't think anyone was really into it. Apart from the London-based local Man United fans who paid for the game against us, clearly. But yeah, the charity not PPV thing was amazing. It was great for us as a channel to be involved in that as well, and everyone who got behind it, supporting the food bank as a result. I think it was the highest takings ever for a match day that the food bank had seen, according to Steve when we spoke to him, and it went higher and higher. And look, PPV is now gone for football, but it was ludicrous.
It was nice to see the players get involved with that as well, like they did with the mental health thing. I mean, it's probably maybe every other week that that the fans food bank post a picture of at least one of the players down there with a donation. Like we've seen Hayden, Dummett. There's been loads of them have gone down, so it's nice to see them getting involved as well.
Yeah, even if they don't get recognised, R.I.P. Paul Dummett and Mark Gillespie when they went down and no one recognised that they played for the club. Yeah. Again, another unsung moment from this year, which goes a bit under the radar. 2
sporty-looking men, I think they were described.
2 sporty-looking men turned up. They just happened to play for Newcastle. Yeah, what are you, like under 23s or something? Yeah, it was great, and like I say, it was great to be involved in that and raise some money for the food bank. And yeah, it's again more stuff that is highly likely to continue in different circumstances because PPV has now gone away. Andy, I want to come to you again on this one because I know you were at the game, I think, for the FA Cup game against West Brom.
Yeah, this is our next one, isn't it? Yeah.
So can you just describe the feeling going into that one? Because I know that there was high attendance from the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel at the match, but you were one of the attendees. Feelings going into that game and how you felt by half time in the end.
Well, going into it, I think everyone was optimistic. Obviously, when you get a massive allocation like that and you just start seeing rumblings on Twitter of who's going and how many people, you know it's going to be a good one, even if the match is awful.
How many did we take in the end? Was it like 16 or something like that? Or?
We had the entire stand behind the goal.
Brilliant. About 8,000 fans, I think it was in the end.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. It had everything you wanted in an away game. Everyone was smashed. The football was good. There was a que sera, inflatable knobs being thrown around everywhere. Just the perfect away day. I mean, the bar was not fit for purpose for that many Newcastle fans, but we got over that in the end. I think we started pretty well. Almiron scored, Lazaro scored, and throughout the game, it never really felt like we were at risk until they suddenly turned it on at the end. But throughout, whenever I sort of miss football and being in the ground, that's the game I always go back to, is remembering why we do love football, because we've all kind of said it there at the minute. It's so hard to actually motivate yourself to even care. And it is really difficult, but I go back to those games and I just remember the inflatable knobs and the penis copter and all that, and I think, yeah, football is class, even if the actual football is awful. And yeah, good result, and I feel like it's maybe one of the only times I'm going to sing the que sera in my life as a football fan, but those are the moments you live for as a fan. When you support Newcastle and you're not going to be winning the league and you're not going to be winning cups, everyone there was all in it together, and it was a great result.
It is quite strange that 2020 will be the year that Newcastle had 2 of their best cup runs in history. And that's crazy because we didn't do anything, in fact. But the FA Cup one was quite long because we kept getting replays against the teams. And this one was long because it just got drawn out and it's ended in such a weird way. And same thing happened with the FA Cup. But yeah, those moments are quite important, aren't they, Jess, to have some hope, even though we know that everything else is going to go to shit. Having FA Cup runs is just really good, and it would be great to see it happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would take. It's hard to say. Like, I don't know if I would take the FA Cup and get relegated. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to say like that kind of thing, but the things that I would honestly give anything to see us in a final. Even just to see us in the final. Not even, obviously you'd want to win it, but like just to have that experience, because I mean, when's the last time we were in the final of a big cup?
98, 99.
98, 99. And The only thing I remember about that was having to go to my grandma's, because it, like, the whole everywhere just went. It was a complete standstill. Like, everyone was glued to it. Like, your dad was out, everyone was out. It was just insane. And we've never, like, bearing in mind we're like late 20s, whatever. We've not had that experience, and it's just sad. It's just sad to not understand and not know what that feels like.
Yeah, I was watching the Maradona film, and there's a bit in that where it was on about when Napoli won the league in that one. I know it's not the same, but it just had a bit where the things were going by, and there was an Italian translation on the bottom, and there was motorbikes and everything. It just went, the celebrations went on for 2 months. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And the rest. It certainly would. And the FA Cup certainly did. I know this was last season, but it was at the start of this year, and there were fans there, and it was great to see so many people. And that was a midweek game as well, wasn't it, Andy, the West Brom one? And that wasn't even a replay, but the replay that kind of stole the headlines, that inspired the penises to be thrown around and everything else, and really cemented San Maximan's place in Geordie folklore, was the game against Oxford. Which again was a classic Newcastle. Go ahead, Joe Linton scored and also went off injured after scoring. He injured himself scoring. That's how hard it is for him. And then Oxford sprung into life for the last few moments. The crowd were willing them to score. The media were willing them to score. They did score. They scored 2. George Caulkin swore on Twitter for the first time. I mean, it was crazy. And then something happened, and it was magic from the Frenchman, Alain Saint-Maximin. Matty, can you kind of just take yourself back to the despair and the moment to when we picked up the ball in our own half and managed to score an absolute worldie at the other end?
Yeah, I remember it well. He said 2-0 up. Joe Linton, I think, scored probably his best goal that he scored for the club. You know, he ran in, put it across the keeper. Longstaff scores a screamer, and like I said, look, we were going to maybe run riot, but all Oxford ended up scoring a goal, and then we they equalised. We go to extra time, and I remember chucking my toys out the pram, going to the pub at extra time, thinking, screw this, we're probably going to get knocked out. Went to the pub, I'm trying to stand there like I'm not bothered, I'm sulking, and I'm standing next to my dad, and I see him pick the ball up, and it is one of those ones where you slowly start edging yourself off your seat, and you think, he's no, and then he hit it, and it was, even I was annoyed, and we were playing Oxford and everything in right, we shouldn't really be celebrating. It just made you go mental, and it was one of those magic goals. It made one of my favourite clips ever. There's that little kid, Oxford fan, filming himself at the match. That was amazing. You're shit, bruv. You're shit, bruv. You're shit. And then and then everyone behind him is absolutely gutted. It's like, as the kids say.
And off the hook.
And then obviously we got to see a bit of tail as well, which was fun. I wasn't realised at first, but we got to see a bit of tail, and it was like it was just magic stuff. It was like it was above a Viagra advert or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was just like, class. This is Newcastle United. This is what I signed up for. Goals and willy-copters, irony. It was just Viagra. Like quality.
And blue pills for Matty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that Newcastle are pretty stiff up competition in the cups.
Yeah.
For that matter. But that guy certainly was not at the time. It was very cold back in February. And great. I mean, it was brilliant. That entire saga, forget about the goal for a second. The guy in the crowd led to West Brom having to warn people that there would be no helicopters allowed. And
no fly zone.
Well, yeah, and the penises were flying around there. Alain Saint-Maximin picked up on it. He also called it the pennycopter, and there was multiple variations of what people wanted to actually call it, the windmill and everything. Yeah. It was mad, and I just want to go back to that feeling because it was just fun. That's fun Newcastle for me, and it might come back. So
we'll see.
So there we are. Yes, and speaking of madness, Jess, would you like to talk about one of the greatest moments, not just in 2020, but of all time for Newcastle United? We played crap for 90 minutes at Goodison Park, and what happened next?
Lejeune happened, and it was just absolutely incredible. And this was January. So
January.
So this was before all the COVID bollocks, and I was still at work, like actually in the office. And it was a midweek game, and I ended up being like brutally hungover because I was like it was a midweek game, sat in the house having a couple of beers as you do, and then we're equalised, and honestly it was like that is what I imagine it must be like being in the FA Cup final, and that's probably the closest feeling that I'm going to get, but it was just absolutely glorious, and it couldn't have happened against a nicer person, better team.
Yeah, I mean it was wonderful. Carlo Ancelotti had just come to Everton. All of them lot were giving it the big guns on Twitter. Carlo Magnifico, and then I mean it's just wonderful, isn't it, Andy? I don't know if you've seen the one where it's the images that precede unfortunate football events, but people zoom in on the time and the clock, and it's still quite hard to get your head around. But it was 92 minutes when it was 0-0, and we managed to get a point.
It's one of those, how am I going to explain to my kids that Newcastle got a draw from this position with 2 from centre back? It's just a joke, isn't it? It's like FIFA, like you couldn't do that in FIFA. And I remember there being a picture as well where Pickford was like 3 yards behind his line.
Yeah.
It just made it even sweeter. I mean, it was ridiculous anyway that Lejeune snapped his spine scoring 2 bicycle kicks. But and then there was Pickford just stood there with his T-Rex arms, completely helpless, and it was really sweet. Even though it was just a draw. Again, all of these memories we're going through from 2020, they're all just ridiculous things, really, aren't they? It's almost like it's when we can't believe it. It's when we have the best.
That is what makes the memories. These are the things that people will talk about, being like, we had a few crap years after Rafa Benitez left, and they are still ongoing, but we had some good moments, and these again are the lucky moments for Steve Bruce's Newcastle United. These are the shithousey moments that me and Jess speak about, and that's probably the most shithousey thing that's happened. And Lejeune's not a shithouse, so it's just it's brilliant. It's
and we let him leave on loan.
And we let him leave on loan,
Still upset about that.
So yeah, God knows what he said after that. He probably kicked off. Probably said I didn't mean to score there. Yeah, it's God, I miss January. It was crazy. There's another big moment which we're going to speak at number 1, but number 2, I thought that we should spend a little bit of time just quickly wax lyrical about Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson signing for Newcastle United for me has to be one of the best moments of the year, if not the last 5, because it just felt like the right signing had finally come to Newcastle, and he's proved to be a brilliant signing. Even though he's not got the service, he scores penalties without fail. I do not want to curse that. Please don't. Which all the women. But it's true. I mean, he's scored enough already to make up for whatever he misses in the future. And it's just, we spoke about this the other week as well, Jess, clipping at people's heels to make sure that they didn't get up the other end of the pitch, going over to kiss the camera, making my girlfriend fall in love with him and say it out loud in a bar full of people, which made me kind of go, yeah, okay, fair enough. Me too. And scoring on his first game. I mean, getting the club, being a traditional striker that doesn't even have to wear the number 9 shirt.
I mean, he had me when he had his interview and said his son watched goal, and that was
of course,
and that was a contribution. As soon as I heard that, I was like, right, so you're going to be good, you.
Yeah, the whole of people who were just watching that interview just went, "Welcome to the Toon, son," and had a great time. God, yeah. I mean, Matty, someone brought up the Tottenham game and how he managed to get a point out of that one. Even those single-handedly dragging us, kicking and screaming into a point zone.
Yeah, he has been exactly what we've been after. It's a shame that the shine's getting took off it a little bit now. The realisation that he hasn't fully changed the way we play, because you'd think he'd like to give this proper striker proper service. Yeah. But, I mean, my favourite moment for Callum Wilson so far this season was his goal against Palace. That was a game that was just, it looked like only one person was going to win. It was Palace. We were on the back foot. And one through ball, and you're sort of like, I was moving on my seat thinking, is he going to get to that left foot through under the keeper's legs? Like that's what we've bought him for, and I hope he can crack on. And like you said, he won't miss any penalties. I feel I have like a sort of confidence in him as a striker. It's just whether we get the service to him that he needs. But yeah, Callum Wilson, absolutely fantastic sign.
It would be a travesty if Callum Wilson's time at Newcastle was tainted by the style of play that we're having. Because I'm having flashbacks to Gini Wijnaldum. I'm having flashbacks to so many good players who have been playing for us who haven't been allowed to play the football that they want. And yeah, if something happens, if something miraculously changes with the manager, and we probably get our wish, then I would like to think that the manager that comes in is able to work with Callum Wilson. So, Mr. Howe, please come and get us. I don't even know if that would be a good thing, because people are saying careful what you wish for, but believe me, anything at the minute seems better.
Yeah.
Apart from Big Sam, I do not want Big Sam. No one wants Big Sam. Seriously, that's not even an argument.
We're safe from him for a little while now, for now at least.
Oh, he'll probably lose his job in time for us to get a new one. So that's how long we'll take. And yeah, it's thank you, Callum Wilson. We love you.
We do.
Thank you, Callum.
He also brought us that amazing moment with Andy Carroll, Richie, Ryan Fraser, and Wilson in the restaurant.
Yeah, that was great.
Sir Richie.
Yeah, I've loved it. It was that week in particular when we signed Fraser and Wilson and Lewis. It was what's going on? Three signings.
It kind of felt like that things were turning and things were changing, and this were like this is it. It's actually we had hope.
And then at the end of that week, the takeover came back roaring into existence somehow. So, God. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Number one in our top 10, I think it's between the top three for me with this one, but I think a lot of people. I chose this because it was the last goal that anyone has seen in St James's Park, I think, or at least the last winning goal that anyone has seen in St James's Park. With spectators there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the winning goal. And this was Isaac Hayden against Chelsea. Last minute, again, another turgid display from Steve Bruce's Newcastle United, where the final second, madness happened. And Jess, we said the other week, didn't we, that this was around the same time as Everton, where we were just somehow crawling over and getting some madness in the final second. And Isaac Hayden's goal against Chelsea, it was just pure, unadulterated joy in the stands. People went crazy. It's been mentioned a fair few times on the channel that our camera for the fan cams got broken by me and Mark and Chris jumping on top of it. Or one of us. It still remains to be seen who it actually was, but who cares? Because God, I ran along the concourse and everything like that. Matty, were you at that game?
I was, mate. Yeah.
What was your reaction?
It's one of those, I haven't had it in a while, but limbs, that type of thing. Like it was just where you sort of you just don't know what to do with your arms and you just stomp on the floor. And my dad wasn't with me at the time, so my girlfriend came along with me. Her handbag went 3 rows down. Like there's people like in any other walk of life. I'm turning around now. I'm watching 3 40-year-old blokes grabbing my girlfriend and throwing her about. I'm worried. I'm screaming for help. I might even try and throw a few punches in there. But I was just like, yes, this is great, isn't it? She's just like, what is going on? But it was an awful display. But then I think it was a free kick. It got cleared to St. Maximin. He whips the ball back in, and Hayden just nods it in, and you're just thinking, brilliant. Shit, I was 3. I literally forgot about the performance, to be honest. And I mean, people need to realise that, sometimes there is bad performance, but if you can rescue some at the end and make a moment, then you do forget about those things sometimes. But it was absolutely amazing, and I remember there just being a real, not positive vibe, but everyone was just over the moon leaving the ground. I was on dry January, so I couldn't have a drink.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, so.
God.
But it was still. But the thing is, that's the thing. I still felt pissed to a certain degree. I was that happy. I was riding the crest of a wave, just absolutely over the moon. But then things just. I'm not to put a negative spin on things, but things haven't exactly went from strength to strength since then. But it's something I like to look back on, and I can totally right to see why this is number one in these moments, because that was a win, a last minute win, people in the ground, together with everyone. It was a pretty special moment. Like.
Yeah, Jess, would you take a season full of those moments, like with even if it meant that we weren't playing great, but we're still scoring in the final minute?
I don't think my liver could take a full season.
Yeah, or any organ for that matter.
No, my heart couldn't, my liver couldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would, because there has to be some sort of enjoyment for the other 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, but like Matty just said, you do forget. Like, there's not one thing I can remember about that game, purely because it's just been completely overshadowed by that goal. Like, and even the goal seems like such a blur. Like, I was watching it in the pub with my dad, and there was the pub was really, really busy, and my uncle was there as well with his sons, and they're all Mackhams. And just to even my sister, who doesn't even like football, she was like up and she was good, and it was just glorious, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna go around to Matty's again, and it was gonna be like we were all sat there, and then a handbag landed in the
Yeah.
and it hasn't been seen since.
The handbag went where John Carews' penalty went. It's just
Right, yeah, yeah. John Carews' ball, your girlfriend's handbag, and Mark Hughes' coat, all just up there, gathering dust in our trophy cabinet now. Andy, I mean, just finally with this one, I know that I mentioned how this was the final game, the final winning goal at Newcastle with fans. But do you think that at that moment really sums up how important it is to have fans there, just for the noise and the excitement of that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think we've obviously already talked about how Bruce would be getting in the neck now, but also I can imagine it's really easy as a player when the going gets tough to just down tools. And you might forget that there are millions of people counting on you to lift their weekend, lift their spirits.
Yeah.
And I think in that game, it got to that point where you knew Chelsea weren't going to get another attack, and it was like, we can win this here. This is going to be a shithouse Newcastle win, and you just feel the energy lift, and that has to go to the players. It just has to. Even though I know a lot of footballers say that they can drown it out and not think about it, there's, especially with our team, with players like Richie, they just absolutely thrive off it. And you never know, Bruce might be doing a better job if we were there cheering the lads on. But yeah, what a game that was. Header 90th minute, Gallowgate end, limbs everywhere. Class.
Yeah. Isaac Hayden as well. Couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke, that one, properly. Unlike the Pickford reference. And yeah, I mean, it's important to have fans there, because if Matt Ritchie goes and kicks a corner flag into the ground at the minute, it's not going to hit anyone in the balls, which of course is far, we had one man.
Lots of genitals this year, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly. And at least in this one, there was pure just scenes from that one. A guy getting hit in the balls, Matt Ritchie delivering it to him. I don't think Matt Ritchie even apologised for that, which is the best part.
He shouldn't.
No, of course not. Yeah.
He should be honoured.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the way of the corner flag.
Yeah, I'd take one. I'd take corner flag in the tail for Matt Ritchie. Any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Lovely stuff.
I'm glad that's on video. We'll keep that for later.
That's the clip that I'll be taking from this one. Special mention to someone who appeared on Extra Time not so long ago, who has seemingly become Twitter famous in the last 2 months with his video, Rich Oliver. I wanted to say thank you, Rich, for keeping us going and keep them coming. At some point, maybe he will meet Steve Bruce, and we'll see that weird kind of ambitious Avengers level crossover.
I'm sure. Did someone not point out that since Rich started doing these videos, we haven't won?
Oh.
Oh no, we beat Palace. Did he not do the Palace one? That was a really funny one. That
Palace was the last.
I'm sure
I
saw
masterclass.
Four hasn't exactly been there. Yeah, but thank you to Rich for keeping our spirits high, and thank you for everyone who keeps going with all the humour on there. And if you do want to remember what it's like to have fans in the stadium, do make sure you check out the new film for Newcastle United with We Are the Geordies, which is just brilliant, and it'll just bring back so many lovely memories of the Championship season and what we were, even though we were down there. It was quite remarkable watching that, and quite emotional and bittersweet. And yeah, that's it for this year. Thank you very much for watching Extra Time. It's been great doing these, I must say, and hopefully in the new year we won't have to keep doing them over video chat. I'll be out and at the match and just talking to people again. That's going to be something to look forward to. But yeah, it's been good fun. And thank you, Jess, for being a wonderful co-host.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for Matty for being on them. This is how you came into the fray, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I was going to say when you were about for the week we signed Wilson and Fraser, I was going to be like, Gallowgateshots actually signed me that week. But yeah. Oh no, mate, it's been great. It's been absolutely quality, and long may it continue. Hopefully, we get to do these in person. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll rent out a studio and everything and do it properly, and then Andy can do his top 10 Peter Lovenkrands moments. But yeah, thank you, Andy, as well. So just laughing away there. That's not all he's got to offer. But yeah, we're going to bring up the awkward fact that we've got the ex-away say here and now the new host of Beyond the Lines. I mean,
hey, you changed the name. What's that about?
It was beyond my control. It's beyond my control, mate. I just do as I'm told. That's all I do.
Matty's done a class job with it. I've watched him since he started doing it. He's done a grand job. Thanks for having me back on. It's been great.
There we are, and we'll have you back any time, Andy. A happy new year to Newcastle United, and let's hope that Liverpool is the one. Goodbye.